Let me tell you, one thing about Little Green Giants that my parents love is that we're a well-cared daycare. We are a well-cared daycare. You're thinking, what is a well-cared daycare? We are a well-cared daycare, which means we are not at liberty to care for sick children. And because we are not doctors, we are not able to diagnose your child as being sick. We do go off of the symptoms that they present while they are present. So if your child has any cold-like symptom or any ailment similar, they are not able to be at daycare. And I know some parents may say, well, what happens if my child has a runny nose or if they have a little cough? If you're able to notice that they have a runny nose and a cough, we do have to politely ask you to keep your child home, nurse them back to good health, and then bring them into the daycare. Yes, we are that strict. And let me tell you why. During the pandemic, no one had any answers as to what exactly was going on, but all we knew was that if your child had any symptoms, that they would have to be excluded from care. And do you know what this did? This minimized the risk of contagion. So that meant that while all the other daycare centers had COVID spreading around in the center between the children, to the parents, to the teachers, we did not. Because at the first inkling of a common cold-like symptom, your child had to be picked up within 1 hour. This completely minimized the risk of other children catching these viruses that were airborne, that were happening just like that. And ever since the pandemic, we've maintained a zero tolerance illness policy to ensure that we could keep our daycare sick-free. And by sick-free, I mean so that we don't have the viral and bacterial infections spreading through the daycare. As you know, children are so germy, and it's okay. They are building up their immune systems. It's their first few years here on this earth. It's what children do and what they go through. That's just the process of being a child and letting your immune system grow. But at Little Green Giants, we are not at liberty to care for sick children because we want to ensure that our children and our other children stay healthy, that our teachers stay healthy, and that our parents can stay healthy as well. So that's one unique aspect about Little Green Giants is our illness policy. So when parents come in for a tour or when they're doing their research about Little Green Giants, I make sure that myself or my directors make sure that they put a that they share a big conversation around that illness policy so that parents are made aware. So unfortunately, if you do have a child that gets sick a lot, Little Green Giants may not be for you because you'll have to figure out alternative care arrangements. Or you could be the family that just says, you know, we love the program, we understand that little Sarah gets sick a lot, and we are willing and able to keep her home. And once we nurse her back to good health, we bring her back to school because we know that she just has a low or a weakened immune system, or she might have an underlying disease or illness that contributes to the lack of strong immune system that she has. So, and that's one of the things that's a part of Little Green Giants that we take great pride in, because we understand that daycares are sick, that daycares can be a very, very sickly environment, and we want to ensure that we are not contributing to that. So with our very strict illness policy, sometimes parents love it and sometimes they don't like it so much. But I think all parents can appreciate the fact that they know that when they bring their healthy child into daycare, that their child is amongst other healthy children. Now, we can't account for things that we don't visibly see, but for the symptoms that our teachers are able to pick up on, we do note that and we share that with the parents. So if you want to operate a daycare center to include a more healthier environment, you have to create and enforce an illness policy that parents are made aware of and that they can take heed to. Because the way that this world is going right now and the way that kids are getting really sick with infections, diseases, and just common colds that don't really have any explanations from pediatricians or doctors, it's just important to make sure that we all do our due diligence in making sure that we stay vigilant when it comes down to our surroundings and not being around other people that are sick. So another thing is, sometimes I might have a parent that says, oh, my child has allergies. Okay, I can understand that. And so what I do is I just ask the parent that they take the child to the doctor, make sure that the child has a doctor's note, and that they are administering allergy medicine to their child. Because let's just say that a child has a runny nose and watery, itchy eyes and a really bad cough, and they have red rashes on their face and their eyes might be a little bit swollen, all kind of like the common hay fever symptoms. We would just ask that you do administer the allergy medicine, because do you know how hard it is to work with a child that is not well? They can be very much miserable because they're not feeling good. So even if it's a common cold or if it's allergies, we do have to insist that the parent, or support that the parent gives them medicine to help the child feel a little bit better. Can you imagine sending your child to care and they literally don't look good because they don't feel good, and how much extra cuddles and love that a teacher has to give? Now, we give our children love all the time, but when a child is really, really not feeling well, they want their mommies and their daddies. As much love as we give them, they really just want to be at home in their own comfortable environment, cuddled up with mommy and daddy. So in a way, we ask for respect for the child, and then we just ask for respect for the daycare center as the whole, for understanding how illnesses can spread and just understanding the level of comfortability that children may have if they do have those symptoms that are affected by allergies. So when it comes down to our illness policy, either your child is not well because they present symptoms, or if they have allergies, you'll have to give them allergy medicine. And then of course, if you do give them allergy medicine and you see that it's not working, then you're aware that it may not be allergies and that it may be something else. So in that event, we would still ask that you keep the child home until their symptoms can be remedied. And then also lets the parent know that they're keeping their eye on their child and they're monitoring their child to make sure that they're okay, because one of the worst things that can happen is that your child is not feeling well because they just broke a fever last night. They wake up in the morning, you think that they're feeling good, then they come to daycare and they have a seizure. That's real. Those are things that can happen. So in order just to minimize the risk of having sick children in our care, we just ask that if you see that your child is not feeling well, please keep your child home. And I'm telling you, I've had some parents who can't believe our illness policy, and I've only had one parent who explicitly told me, hey, my child has really bad ear infections, and when they get ear infections, they get really bad fevers. So due to your illness policy, we see that we would have to keep him home. It's just not going to work for our household. And I totally understood and I totally respected that. So that family unfortunately did have to pass on Little Green Giants, but mostly our other families they understand the illness policy and they can definitely respect it. So if you want to operate a daycare with being a well-care daycare, I think it's super imperative that you create an illness policy that is very strict, so that your parents can respect it and that you can make sure that your teachers are not getting sick and calling out, and you just have a healthier daycare. So that's one good thing that I love to share about Little Green Giants is our illness policy. And maybe it won't work for your daycare because you may not need it, because maybe your parents keep their children home and they're not feeling good. Or you might be a provider that says, wow, I never thought about that. Like, this would prevent a lot of, viral infections from spreading. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share about our illness policy. Welcome back. You're here with my daycare coach, aka Miss Sunny, here for all your childcare needs. Today, we are going to be discussing employee retention, and the best ways to ensure that you can hire the best employees, keep them, and hire great employees in the future as well. But first, I'm going to give you insight on what I've been experiencing with opening up my new facility. So if you guys are new here, welcome. If you are new and you don't know me or what I'm going through or what I have went through within the past year, let me just bring you up to speed. First, had a home daycare, closed the home daycare, moved, tried to open up a center, didn't quite work out, moved again, came back, opened up another home daycare. Everything was running nice and smooth. Got the opportunity to open up a facility, opened up the facility, and now I'm on to my second facility. But let's backtrack just a little bit. And as I'm still working on opening up my first facility, even though we are licensed and in full operation, I'm still going through the motions, and I'm just going through the whole process of starting a business, running the business, figuring out all of the do's and the don'ts, and also just understanding the basic ways of logistics when it comes down to operating a business. So when it comes down to employees, personally experiencing it, the employee part is the hardest part, especially when it comes down to the daycare field. One, it's hard to find, this is all my personal experience, it's hard to find experienced professionals who not only express that they have a passion and a love for working with children, but that you're also able to see it in real life. So everyone that you seem to interview, oh, I have a passion for working with children, I love working with children. Then you let them have the classroom observation and they're just staring at the kids. Do you want to read a book? Do you want to play? Like, it's not the genuine interactions that I'm used to observing from my personal teachers that I've worked with in the past, but it's just not something that I would want to have on board when it comes down to my facility. So it's been really hard with trying to find good quality staff, and people who are reliable, people who are punctual, people who have the credentials, people who come in with grace, poise, and class, because I'm not just looking for teachers who are going to be a person in the room to provide good supervision. I'm looking for little role models. Yes, I am looking for little role models when it comes down to teachers who are in my center, because in actuality, these are the adults that my children are looking up to. So yes, you do need to represent yourself in a really, really good manner, have proper etiquette and grooming skills, so that way when my infants all the way up to my school-age children are recognizing you and looking at you, that they're aspiring to be like you. Yes, aspiring to be like a teacher who is filled with grace, who is confident, who is intelligent, who speaks well. I want my children to look up to my teachers, because that's what they are. They are teachers. They are young, early educators. So essentially, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit more than what the average or typical facility is looking for, but that's what separates Little Green Giants. That's what we strive for. We strive for above meeting the standards, and we just have our own level of expectations and standards that we want to make sure that anyone who is a part of our team is able to meet those expectations. So that was a quick little insight, just some of the things that I've been dealing with. When it comes down to employee retention, it's been really hard to find really, really good teachers who can stay with us for a while, because we do have higher expectations. We are looking for a little bit more than what the average daycare is looking for. But in return, we offer really good benefits outside of just what the salary is and what the vacation days are. But we offer mental health days. So once our teachers have been with us through their probationary period, we offer one mental health day a month. And our teachers are able to request a full day off where they can take it for a mental health break, whether they need to go see counseling, whether they just need a day off to sleep in, or if they just need a business day to take care of any of their personal obligations. So it gives all the teachers one day a month to get everything they need to get done, without fault. So that was one of the good things about our program that we decided to implement when it came down to our new facility and being able to offer a benefit outside of the monetary values. When it comes down to a schedule, we offer a very flexible schedule. So although we have our general operating hours, we allow our teachers to kind of pick the time frame of when they would like to work, as long as it's within the time frame and the range of our hours of operation. And that gives the teachers flexibility when it comes down to their personal obligations or their personal schedule that they may have at home, in order for it to be conducive to the work environment at their work, so that we can ensure that our schedule meshes well with their schedule so that we can make sure that we keep our teachers on board with us. When it comes down to the support in classrooms, that was the biggest con that I would hear when teachers would come in, and I would interview them and I would just say, hey, just to be completely transparent, if there's anything that you don't mind sharing, what is it that happened at your last job? What is the biggest con that they had experienced at their previous facility? They would mention the lack of support when it comes down to making sure that they have like the proper materials in the classroom, making sure that they had coverage when it came down to using the washroom, and just making sure that there was somebody who had their back when it came down to checking on them during the day. So I made sure that I made it my habit to check in with my teachers, not just one time a day, but throughout the day, to make sure that they are okay. If there's anything that they need, that I'm available, and also just to let them know that I'm there to support. So when they're having a day, or if they're just moving a little bit slower than usual, or let's just say we have a child that the temperament is a little bit different than what they're accustomed to, that I'm able just to kind of fill in, jump in, and assist them during the day in their classroom so that they don't feel alone. So when it comes down to employee retention, those were a few things that I needed to make sure that I wanted to be privy to in ensuring that my teachers felt supported and also heard when it came down to working at our center. So the good teachers that we love, we're able to keep them with us. As you know, sometimes it doesn't work out quite that easy or simple as you would hope it to be, but I always understand that the teachers who are meant to be with Little Green Giants will stay with Little Green Giants, and those who are not, we definitely support them on their way out, because we want to make sure that this is a symbiotic relationship and Little Green Giants is receiving the same benefits that the teachers are by working at Little Green Giants and being part of our own little community. So that's a little bit about when it comes down to employee retention at the daycare and what we have been experiencing with opening up our facility. So now let's discuss burnout. The burnout is real. You have your standard operation hours, but that does not mean those are the hours that you work. You need to prepare to come in earlier and prepare to stay later. In my case, my hours are from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and I do offer before care and after care hours, because I know that the traditional hours of daycare usually run anywhere between 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And with me having limited hours, I wanted to make sure that if I did have any families who did need to utilize care before or after the hours of my typical hours of operation, that I would be able to offer that service. I only have one family that does utilize the service. However, it does not negate the fact that I still need to be at the daycare before we open to make sure that we are able to clean the inside of the facilities every morning, to make sure it smells refreshed in the morning for all of the families, for us to welcome them. In addition to that, you just need to make sure that when you get to the daycare in the morning, that you can swipe the grounds, make sure that the environment that you're in is clean, free of debris and trash. You need to make sure that if there's anything that's going on the grounds or the property of your daycare, that you're able to be the first responder to it in order to just make sure that it's clean and ready to welcome your first guest. So coming in the morning to make sure that the grounds are good, making sure that the daycare is clean, ready to go. Also ensuring that you are there early enough just in case there's traffic or any kind of emergencies, and also making sure that I or you are on site if your teachers who are scheduled to come in early do not come in, because again, you as the agent, operator, owner, you are responsible for that building and everything inside of it. So personally speaking, when it comes down to burnout is real. Because you're getting up early in the morning, you're going to bed late at night, and you're doing everything in between. Also, in addition to just being a daycare operator, I'm also a mom. So not only am I mom 24/7, but I'm owner within that 24/7 window as well. So, burnout can be real. In addition to just being responsible for myself, my children, my family, the daycare, I'm also responsible for the adults and the teachers who come into work. So it's imperative that you can make sure that you're giving yourself time to be able to speak with the teachers and letting them know in the mornings, kind of debriefing them, hey, what's the plan for today? You should also make sure that you have your lesson plans available and that you are aware of what the lesson plans are. So as an operator, I am more hands-on. I am not the agent that is just there behind the cameras monitoring what's going on. I'm literally on site to ensure that everything is going good and to make sure that I can step in or interject as needed. So when I mentioned that the burnout is real, you have teachers that call out at the last minute. You have instances where children are coming in fine, chipper, and happy, and then an hour later they are vomiting all over the place. You have instances where kids are coming in and then they're having diarrhea and you have to change those clothes. Then you have to clean up the mess. You want to make sure that you're available to support those teachers when they're feeling overwhelmed, and also just to make sure that you can observe your teachers in those instances to see what assistance they may need and being proactive. So that's what is able to assist with supporting your teacher with understanding what they need before they're able to explain that to you. So I'm all over the place when it comes down to my center. I'm doing morning arrivals, I'm doing dismissals, I'm in the classroom assisting the teachers, I'm preparing snacks, I'm going over supplies, inventory. There's nothing that goes on in my center that I'm not aware of. And there's nothing that I don't double back on just to ensure that I'm aware of what's going on, even if it's something that I do miss. And one thing I wanted to mention as well is that for all of my independent girlies, it's always a good idea to have someone that's like your right hand man or woman, your wingman, to ensure that they can support you as you are dealing with burnout, as you are dealing with the natural factors of running and operating a business. But you need someone that you can depend on as well. You need someone that can support you. Everyone needs support. In order to run a really well-run center, everyone needs to be able to support each other because no one can do it by themselves. So when I say that the burnout is real, I personally feel like the burnout is real because I'm just doing a lot. But I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would never get another job where I'm not working with children, and I'm always looking for the next thing of what I can do to enhance my center and enhance the experience for all of my children, parents, and teachers to experience as well. So employee retention we discussed, burnout we discussed, and then we will also be discussing inventory, stock, and how to make sure you do not run out of things. So that's been the biggest part of me learning how to operate the business, is making sure that I have systems in place to ensure that wherever I may fall short at, that there's a system in place that I can refer to, look, and make sure I'm organized through that. So what I do is in the afternoons, I see all the stock, I see what we have left, and I predict what we may need, and I just go ahead and order it and stock it up just to ensure that we do not run out. But also in that, I'm taking heed to understanding the things that we are running through quicker, and then figuring out a way of how to decrease that so that we're not running through supplies because everything costs. So it's just very important to have systems in place to make your job easier, to make my job easier. And that includes either finding a system that you can use or creating your own. I'm a very sustainable person. I take the sustainability aspect and the approach very kind to heart. So I'm always delegating things for myself to understand how my own systems can work because I'm creating them and it just works for me. So you have to figure out what works for you and in order to decrease your expenses and maximize your profits. And that's how you're able to really weed out the external factors that can really have a big hold on your pockets by being able to take care of some of the things in-house. So you make sure your inventory is good, you maximize your profits by minimizing your expenses. Make sure you have really good employees, make sure you vet your employees, treat your employees well, so that way you have low turnover when it comes down to employees, and minimize your burnout by just making sure the systems that you create help your business. Everything that you should do should help your business and not impede on it.